So you guys begged for it. I've gotten countless comments that you want a virtual world in-depth guide, and this is it. This is gonna be the in-depth guide where we're gonna be discussing tech cards, counters, combo, deck profile. I mean, we're gonna be discussing pretty much anything virtual world. This is gonna be the ultimate guide that you can always come back to if you want to learn more about this deck. And yeah, you guys begged for it, so this is gonna be the time frames in case you want to skip to this section of the video. But as always, this was Yara here, and please, if you haven't already, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It motivates me a lot to keep this channel going. But as always, this was Yara here, and now let's get to the in-depth virtual world guide. Let's go. Alright, so this is going to be the staples section. These are going to be cards that you will see on every single virtual world deck. Doesn't matter like what version they're playing. So I'm going to be going card by card, explaining their effects, and also how many of them you should be running in your deck. And also, before we get started, little things to note is that all of these cards have the restriction that says that after their effect resolves, you are locked into level 3 or rank 3 or higher for the remainder of the turn. You may be like, what does that mean? So that means that you cannot link summon. Right after you activate any of these monsters effects, you cannot link summon. That's why links, you don't usually see it on virtual world, because you cannot link summon after you activate any of these cards effects. So you're gonna want to keep that in mind. And also another thing you want to keep in mind is that they're all hard ones per turn, right? So you cannot activate multiples per turn, right? So hard ones per turn, hard ones per turn, hard ones per turn, hard ones per turn, and hard ones per turn. This one has 2 effects, but both of them are hard ones per turn. So just remember that they lock you into rank 3 or level 3 or higher for the remainder of the turn, and also they're all hard ones per turn. So but yeah, let's get started with the card rundown. So Lulu, which is considered to be like the best card in the deck, it's just like a +1. It's like an engage. That's how you want to think of it. Basically what you do is you target a virtual world card on the field, and then you send the opposite. So let's say that you target a virtual world monster on the field, then you send either a virtual world spell or a virtual world trap to the graveyard, and then you special summon out Lulu. And then once you special summon out, then you can add the opposite. So if you send a trap, then you can add a spell, right? But it has to be the opposite of what you sent, right? So for example, let's say you target a trap, activate Lulu effect from your hand, target the trap card, then you send either a spell or a monster to the graveyard. So let's say you send a spell, you send a copy of Qinglong, you send Qinglong to the graveyard, special summon out Lulu, then you get to add a copy of any virtual world monster from your deck, right? So you add the opposite basically. So that's kind of how these 4 their effects work, right? So now we're gonna go with, and you run 3 of these, and then GG, you run 3. Same thing, you activate it from your hand, and then you target either a spell, trap, or monster that's already on the field, virtual world card, and then you send the opposite. So if you target a spell, then you send either a trap or a monster to the graveyard, then you special summon it from your hand, right? And also this card has the effect that once the effect resolves of GG, the one to special summon and send, during the end phase, you get to add a virtual world monster in the graveyard to your hand, with the exception of GG, right? So if either any of these are in your graveyard, and then during that turn the effect of GG resolves, then you get to add it to your hand during the end phase, right? So, and then we're gonna go with Lily. Lily, the best way to think of her is she's a double foolish. So you activate it from your hand, you target a virtual world card already on the field, and then you send the opposite, right? So if you target a trap, you send either a spell or a monster. Let's say you target a trap, then you're gonna go ahead and send a spell, special summon Lily, then you have the option to send the opposite as well. So it's like a double foolish, right? So if you target a spell, you send a trap, special summon Lily, then you send a monster. So it's like a double foolish. The second foolish is optional, so you're gonna want to keep that in mind. So You don't have to send 2 cards, but you can if you want to. Early in the game, you're gonna want to send double cards. So you're gonna want to send, like, if you target a monster, you're gonna want to send a spell and a trap, because it helps you in the graveyard. But later in the game, you may not want to get rid of that many resources, so you don't have to send the second card, right? The first card you do have to, though, to be able to special summon her. Then we're gonna go with Lao Lao, Roshi. So, oh yeah, this is a 3-off. Roshi is also a 3-off. The way this works is that you target a face-up virtual world card on the field, right? You activate it from your hand. You target a face-up card on the field, virtual world, and then you send the opposite. So if you target a spell, for example, you can send either a trap or a monster. Then you special summon out Roshi to the field, and then you have the option to special summon out a virtual world monster from the graveyard, right? So little thing to note is that let's say that there's a trap already on the field, and then you go ahead and send a Neon to the graveyard. Then you cannot special summon out the same monster that you sent, or if you send any of these monsters, you cannot special summon out the same monster that you sent. It has to be a monster that was already in the graveyard before you activated the effect of Roshi, right? So a little thing to keep in mind. And then we're gonna have Neon. Neon has 2 effects. The first effect being that if a level 3 gets summoned on the field, you can special summon out it from the graveyard. So if this is already in the graveyard, and then you normal summon an Ash, or if you normal summon Lulu, or if you special summon Lulu or special summon Ash, then you can special summon this from the graveyard, right? So, and also for the remainder of the turn, it counts as a tuner. So it normally is not a tuner, but when it gets special summoned this way, then it becomes a tuner, right? So you're gonna want to keep that in mind. And also, if it leaves the field, it gets banished, right? When it used the effect. So another thing to note is that when this gets banished, the second effect is that you get to shuffle 1 card that's banished into the deck. So it can be either face up banish or face down banish. So that's why this card is so good with cards like Prosperity or Desires, because even if a card was banished face down, you can recur it. And this is also a hard once per turn. So and you can activate both of her effects the same turn, but only once per turn. Then that will be it for the monsters. So then we're gonna go ahead and go into the spells. So we're gonna go with Kowloon. So this one is a pretty cool card because whenever you activate it, you can place a virtual world card, virtual world gate card from your deck into the field. So you can go ahead and activate Kowloon, and then you can go ahead and go into either Qinglong or Chu-Chi or Xuanhu, depending on what you need. So that's basically what it does. And also you can apply these effects in sequence. So you can go ahead and all virtual world monsters you control gain 200 attack, depending on how many virtual world gate cards you control. So if you control 2 virtual world gates, then that means that you can have it gain 200 attack. All your virtual world monsters gain 200 attack. If you have 3 or more virtual world gates already on the field, then you send the top 3 cards of the deck to the graveyard. And you can ash this card. Your opponent can ash this card. You may be like, how in the world can you ash a card that just places a virtual world gate card from the deck to the field? Well, the reason being is because you also have the option to send from deck to graveyard, and that's why you can ash this. So little thing to keep in mind. Then we're gonna go with the special one. If you have 4 virtual world gate cards already on the field, doesn't have to be different names. It could just be like 3 copies of Qinglong and 1 Chu-Chi or something like that. You can go ahead and special summon 4 virtual world monsters with different names from your extra deck. So this effect is pretty insane. You almost never use it, so I will just pretend like it's not even there, to be honest. I've only done it like once in my entire life, so, and I played this deck countless times. So just a little thing to keep in mind. So, and it's also hard once per turn. You can only activate 1 virtual world gate once per turn. So if it gets negated with something like a Savage or a Solemn Judgment, and you have a second copy, then you can activate a second copy, right? Because it's activate, so you can activate a second copy. And then emergency teleport, you will see this in every single virtual world deck, and now that it's at 2, especially now, you're gonna see it on every single virtual world deck, and you can special summon out either Lulu or Neon depending on what you need, so it's very good. So then we're gonna go into Qinglong. Qinglong is like a Rhoda of the deck, and it's also like an Imperm of the deck, so this is one of the best cards in the deck. So both of Qinglong's effects are hard ones per turn as well. So the way it works is that you can banish this from the graveyard. So if you have Qinglong in the graveyard, you can banish it, and then you search any of your virtual world monsters from the deck, and then you have to send a card from your deck to the graveyard afterwards. It's almost like a cost to send afterwards, so it's pretty good. So that's the first effect. You can search any virtual world monsters by banishing it from the graveyard. And the second effect is that if it's on the field, because it's a continuous spell, if it's on the field, you can banish a virtual world card that's in the graveyard and target a face-up monster on the field and negate its effect. So it's like an imperm. It doesn't even have to be your opponent's monsters. It could be like your opponent's as well. You may be wondering, why in the world would you want to negate your own monsters? Well, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so sometimes it helps to have banished cards in this deck, face-up cards, so it's pretty good. So then we're gonna go into Chuchi. Chuchi also has 2 effects. This is arguably pretty much the second best card in the deck aside from Lulu. This card is just nuts, honestly. So the first effect is that you can go ahead and banish. You can go ahead and shuffle back 2 virtual world cards that are banished face up. Shuffle them and then pop a face-up card on the field. Doesn't have to be just your opponent's. It can also be your own card. So it does not shuffle back as cost. Keep that in mind. So if somebody chains like a Cosmic Cyclone to it or a Mystical Space Typhoon or something like that, then you don't have to shuffle back the cards because it's not cost. So and they have to be different names as well. So if you have two Qinglongs banished face up, you cannot activate Chuchi because it has to be 2 different names. So if you have like a Qinglong and any of the monsters or another trap, then you can go ahead and activate Chuchi to pop, and it's also hard once per turn. You can activate it during your turn or during your opponent's turn, so it helps you recur resources. So and that's why you may want to banish monsters and negate your own monsters with Qinglong to have more fodder for Chuchi, right? So little thing to keep in mind. So and also now we're gonna go to Xuanhu. So Xuanhu also has. Oh no, I didn't get to the second effect. The second effect of Chuchi is that you can go ahead and banish it from the graveyard and target a virtual world monster on the field and either up the level or rank by 3 or lower it by 3. So if you have, let's say you have Lulu in the field and you want to make it level 6, then you can make it level 6. Or if you have Roshi on the field, you can go ahead and make it either level 9 or level 3, right? You can increase it or decrease it. So, and also ranks. So if you have like a fan, you can go ahead and make it rank 3. It's useful whenever you want to put like a downer on top or something like that. So it's very useful. So, and it's also hard once per turn. So, but you can activate both of Chuchi's effect per turn. So, but only once each per turn. So then we're gonna go into Xuanhu. So Xuanhu also has 2 effects. Whenever it's on the graveyard, you can banish it, then target a virtual world monster in the graveyard and special summon it, and then you have to discard a card. And then the second effect is that whenever you have another virtual world gate in the field, like if you have like a Chuchi or a Qinglong and you have this face up on the field, during the battle phase you can change the attack position of a monster. So it's especially useful when you're playing decks like Zoo that want to attack you with their XYZ so they can go into Zeus afterwards. You can go ahead and change it to defense position. So it's very useful in that scenario. So, and also both of its effects are hard once per turn, so little thing to keep in mind. So that will be it for the main deck. So you will see all of these, and the ratios are 3 3. You run 3, you run 3, you run 3, you run 3, you run 2 of these. You don't want to break with 3, so you run 2, you run 3, you run 2. Now it's semi-limited. You run 2 or 3 depending on what you need. If it's too bricky for you, you can run 2. If you run 2, I would recommend you to run Pot of Prosperity instead of Desire, so you don't banish multiple. But I stick to 3. I personally stick to 3. And then we have Chuchi. You run 2 of these. You can run 3 if you're running Desires. So, but if you're running Prosperity, then I will stick to 2. And Xuanhu is a one-off, right? So just a little thing to keep in mind. So, oh, before I forget, a little cool trick that you can do with Xuanhu is the effect to banish to target a monster on the field. If your only card in your hand is Emergency Teleport, you can go ahead and do Chainlink 1 Xuanhu, target a virtual world monster on the field, then Chainlink 2, activate Emergency Teleport from your hand, because it's a quick spell, and special summon out 1 from the deck, and then Xuanhu will resolve and special summon 1 from the graveyard. Also, so, and you don't have to discard, right, because you don't have any more cards in your hand. So a little trick that you can do. Also, the monster that you special summon out with Xuanhu, its effects are negated, so keep that in mind. So that will be it for the main deck, and now we're gonna go to the extra deck. So Jiju cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while you have 2 or more monsters in your graveyard with the same original type and attribute but different names. And also you can banish 2 monsters from your graveyard with the same original type and attribute but different names, and target 1 card on the field, send it to the graveyard. So yeah, basically it just sends. If you have later in the game, this card becomes really useful because you have so many cards in the graveyard, and then you can go ahead and banish and then send 1 card on the field. So it's very good. And some decks just simply cannot out it because it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So it's very useful. Sometimes I like to make this, and then some decks just simply can't out this, so it's very useful under the right circumstances. Then we have the Fan. So this Fan has 2 effects. The first one being you can detach 2 materials from this card, then target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and 1 card in their graveyard, banish them, right? So it's like a double banish, 1 from the field and 1 from the graveyard. Now the first card, the face-up card, has to be on your opponent's field, but the banishing one can be on either graveyard. So this card is very useful versus Sky Striker. You banish out their Link in the field, and then you banish out Ray and Grave, so they won't be able to activate Ray. It's very useful. And then the second effect is that whenever this card is destroyed by battle with an opponent's attacking monster or by an opponent's card effect while in its owner monster zone, you can special summon 2 virtual world monsters with the same type and attribute as each other from your deck. So people don't read cards, and I've been able to activate this multiple times because they go ahead and like beat it over, and I'm like, effect, and they're like, okay. So you get to special summon out 2 virtual world monsters with the same type and attribute as each other from the deck. So you have plenty to choose from. So, and then we're gonna go with the Shen, which is arguably the best card in the extra deck. It's so good, especially against decks that want to link climb or that really don't want their cards to get banished. Shen has the effect that well, it has 2 effects also. Well, it kind of has 3 effects. It has 3 effects. It has a sort of like a macrocosmos effect that whenever this card is on the field, any card that leaves the field gets banished instead. Any card, so it can be spell, monster, trap, whatever. If it goes from field to grave, it gets banished instead. That's the first effect. The second effect is that if this card is already in the graveyard, not the turn that is sent, but another turn, you can go ahead and banish 2 monsters with different types and attributes from your graveyard and special summon this. So not only is it a strong monster on the field, but you can also keep summoning it every turn after the turn it's sent. So and then the third effect is that if a monster you control attacks, you can go ahead and return a banished monster. You can return 1 banished monster to the owner's graveyard, so it can be from either banished pile, you can return it to the graveyard. So it's pretty useful. So yeah, and that's a little thing to keep in mind. So let me see. And then Shenshin is, to me, is one I love the art, I love their effects, it's so amazing. So then we have Zolkin. Zolkin is a pretty cool card. A lot of people get confused by this card, but just pretend it's level 12 because it's actually level 12. So that will make it easier to understand. And basically the way you summon it is by having a level 6 on this deck specifically. You have a level 6 non-tuner, and then you have a level 6 tuner. So, and then you send both of them to the graveyard to make Zolkin, right? Keep in mind that they do have to be sent to the graveyard. So if you have something like Shenshin and then you're trying to go into Zolkin, you won't be able to, because Shenshin will send those monsters to the banish pile, so you cannot go into Zolkin, right? So and then Zolkin has the effect that once per turn, when a spell or trap card is set on your field, except during the damage step, you can special summon one power tool, synchro monster, or one level 7 or 8 dragon monster from your extra deck. So, and while you control another synchro monsters, your opponent cannot target this card, also cannot target it with card effects. So they cannot attack it and they cannot target it with card effects if you control another synchro. That's specifically useful because sometimes people want to imperm this, but if you control something like a Stardust Charge Warrior, they won't be able to target it to negate it with Veiler or imperm. So a little thing to keep in mind. So a little trick with Zolkin is that you can go into Zolkin, then set any of your spells and trap cards, then you go into Crystal Winged Dragon, and we all know what Crystal Winged Dragon does. It's pretty useful because it's a monster negate. Not only does it negate, but it also destroys, and it also gains the attack of the monster it destroys. And also this card gain, if it battles at level 5 or higher, then you gain that attack as well. So little thing to keep in mind. And then we have an honorary virtual world monster. You will go into this almost every single, not game, but every single match. So it's very useful because it lets you draw a card. So instead of just going for a normal level 6, you go into this beforehand just so you can get an extra draw, and then you keep on comboing off as usual. So yeah, and this also has the effect that it can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls once each. So it's like an ultimate conductor Tyranno, so it's very useful. So then we're gonna go into the Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon is very good, also lets you draw a card whenever it gets sent to the graveyard. So both of these, they're +1s, so you kind of want to go into them as much as possible before you finish your board. That way you can get an extra draw from each. So Coral is very good in this deck because sometimes you need a tuner to like a level 6 tuner to go into Zolkin. So this is a good way to get to a tuner, level 6 tuner. So, and also has the effect that you can discard a card to target a card on the field and destroy it. So useful as well. Vermilion Dragon is one of my favorite ones, especially when you're going up against a back row deck like Altergeist, Guru, or any of those decks that just want to set 5 and stuff like that. It's very good because it has the effect that you can banish one tuner from your hand, graveyard, or face up on the field, then target one card on the field, destroy it. So it can keep destroying your opponent's card. And a little trick with Vermilion Dragon Mech is that you can go ahead and banish like a Lulu from your graveyard or hand or field, banish it, and then target itself, pop it, because it has another effect that if this synchro summon card is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished tuners and add it to your hand. So you can go ahead, and little trick is that you can go ahead and banish the Lulu or the Roshi that you have in the graveyard, banish it, target itself, pop itself, effect in the graveyard, you add the same card that you banished or another tuner that you have already banished. So little thing to keep in mind. And then Zeus, of course, we can make rank 3s or rank 6s or even rank 9s in this deck so easily. So we have such an easy access to XYZ. So Zeus is, you're gonna see it in every single virtual world card. And I've gotten that question asked before: is Zeus mandatory in this deck? Well, yeah, if you want to go from like if you want to go a couple of tiers up but with one single card, then yeah, Zeus is absolutely mandatory in this deck. I love Zeus, especially going second is almost like necessary to break some boards. So little thing to keep in mind. But yeah, that will be it for the staples. And then now we are gonna go into some tech cards that you will be able to add into your virtual world deck. Let's go. All right, this is gonna be the tech section. So this is gonna be some of the tech cards that you're able to put in the either on the main deck or on the side deck or on the extra deck. So I'm gonna go card by card to explaining some of these tech cards that you can add to your own virtual world deck. So that's why like no two virtual world decks are the same. They usually differ in one way or another. It's because of so many tech options that you have in the deck. So we're gonna go together one by one. So we have Tao Tao. Tao Tao is also a virtual monster that also has a restriction that whenever it gets special summoned, you can go ahead and you're locked into level 3 or rank 3 or higher for the remainder of the turn. So the way she works is that if you control no monsters, or the only monsters you control are psychic or worm, you can normal summon it from your hand without tributing. Or whenever it's in the graveyard, you can go ahead and discard a psychic or a worm monster from your hand and special summon it from the graveyard, and it becomes a tuner. So also you're locked into level 3 or ranked higher, and also gets banished. So it's similar to kind of like Neon, where like once it leaves the field, when it got special summoned by her own effect, it gets banished. So this is more of a tech card because you don't want to run it unless you are relying on a rank 6 strategy, because she can get kind of bricky. So that's why a lot of people just choose to opt out of her. But it's your option. If you like her, you can run it. It's another virtual world monsters, but for me it's more of a tech card because you see it maybe like on 30% of virtual world deck lists. So then we're gonna go with the Foolish Burial Goods. So you have the option to run Foolish Burial Goods. You have the option to send Qinglong to the graveyard, so it's like a Rhoda. So it's like to give you more consistency. You can run however many you want. You can run 1, 2, or 3. I would suggest if you're running 3, you can add the option to put Metal Falls Fusion in the deck as well. So if you already have access to Qinglong in the graveyard, or Xuan Hu in the graveyard, and you don't have any other target that you can send with Foolish Burial Good, you can always just go ahead and send Metal Falls Fusion. So you have like an extra upstart. And Metal Falls Fusion is also good because even if you discard it from your hand and you send it to the graveyard, then you can just go ahead and activate the effect to have like an upstart. So it's all up to you. Then we have another tech option that you have is Malicious. One thing that I like in my deck, I know you've seen some of my deck lists, and I usually run Malicious. So this is good because you can go ahead and either send it with Beatrice, or you can, if you draw it, you can go ahead and discard it with your Qinglong, or you can discard it with your Xuan Hu. And then another cool thing is that since Neon, you have the option to recur banished resources. Sometimes there are times when I special summon up to like 3 Mallies in one turn because you can recur your Malicious. So another tech option that you have, Fossil Dyna. This can be either Scythe or Lancia or whatever floodgate you want, but I think Fossil Dyna is the best one in my opinion. You can go ahead and run it with stuff like Beatrice and Perrin. So if you haven't seen my video, I have a deck profile where I do this Fossil Dyna. You can go ahead and send it. I do a 2-card combo with Lulu and Kowloon, where it will end up on Fossil Dyna. So the way you do it is you go ahead and you send Fossil Dyna with Beatrice to the graveyard, and then you make Perrin, this card right here. The effect of Perrin is that during the standby phase you can detach one and special summon out basically Fossil Dyna from the graveyard. So it's another option that you have. If you want to know how to do that, you can go to my video and I explained how to do that. Then you have the Speedroid package. So this is very good because it gets you into a rank 3, into a Zeus play when you go second, without using your normal summon. So if you draw the Terror Top, then you're golden. It's up to your preference. You can try this package out. This is a 2-card package. So you special summon this, then you have the option to special summon this out, so you can go into a rank 3 without using your normal summon. Then we have this package right here, all 4 of these cards, the Side Reflector package. You go ahead and special summon this with your emergency teleport. You can also normal summon it, and it ends up on like Kaliga, Crystal Wing and Chuchi and Lulu in hand, only with an emergency teleport. If you want to know how to do that, you want to look at my 1-card combo video that I think is right before this one. So you're gonna want to watch that video if you want to know how to do it. But this is the 4-card package that you're required to be able to pull that combo off. The cool thing about this package is that none of them are hard bricks. So what I mean by hard bricks is that card you'd never want to draw, because there are some combos that require you to keep certain cards in the deck. But no, with this package you can draw any of these cards and you can still perform the combo off. All it requires is you to have access to Side Reflector, either normal summoning Side Reflector or special summoning it with either 1-for-1 or yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put 1-for-1 because oh no, 1-for-1 is more for a consistency. So I mean, you can add 1-for-1 to make this package more consistent. And then yeah, the Assault Beast and the Deathbot 001 and the Assault Mode activate. I won't go into in depth on how to do this because I already made a video on this, the one right before this one. So you can you have the option to pick any of these packages to add to your deck. I would suggest not adding all of them because you have a brick fest. Just like pick one and like just see how you like it. You know, if you just want consistency, just add some Foolish Burial Goods and it will make your deck a bit more consistent. So then with the side deck, some tech cards that I sometimes run is Ariel. Ariel is such a good target for Beatrice. Good against Drytron, good against any deck basically that needs stuff to stay in their graveyard. During their turn, they want to activate something from graveyard or they want to use some graveyard stuff. You go ahead and chain Beatrice and Ariel, banish 3 cards, and it's GG. Then we have Banshee and Zombie World package. So this is a very good package because you can go ahead and against stuff like Tri-Brigade, Salamangreat, or any deck that requires their graveyard to stay specific type, it like cripples them very hard. So you go ahead and send this with Beatrice, and then during their turn you can banish this. This is a quick effect and activate Zombie World from your deck, so it's very useful. Then we have the Crescendo Cycle Raider package. This is good against Drytron. The same theory. You go ahead and send Crescendo with Beatrice, and then during their turn you go ahead and activate Crescendo effect, banishing it out, searching out the Cycle Reader, and then you can go ahead and just banish like 2 of their light monsters, their Ben 10 and 1 of their Drytron cards. So it's a very good package to have, and Beatrice enables pretty much all of these packages, so you're gonna want to memorize like what cards are good against a specific matchup. So then we're gonna go into the side deck tech cards. So side deck Beatrice, the one that enables this package and enables the Fossil Dyna package, so it's so good. You can also just send a Qinglong if you just need to, like a Rhoda in your graveyard. Then we have the Perrin, which is good for Fossil Dyna or Scythe or whatever card you want to special summon out. And then we have the Halki, Aurora Dawn, and Cupid package, which are all with the Side Reflector package. So like once again, you're gonna want to look at that video, and you may be like, well, I thought we didn't link summon in this deck, Yada. Well, yeah. You're supposed to do this combo before you activate any of your virtual world monsters effects, so you're not locked out of links. So little thing to remember. All right, and so now we're gonna go into our another package that you can run on the extra deck, which is like the Synchro 9 and Rank 9. So this gives you the option to like be able to get rid of up to like 3 cards from your opponent's hand. Because of cards like X-Saber Gothams, that makes it so that you can tribute 1 X-Saber monster to discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand, and you can tribute itself. Then you go ahead and revive it with Cloud Castle, and then you activate the effect again, and then you can go ahead and find another way to go into the Phantom Fortress, enter Blathnir, and you can go ahead and banish a random card from your opponent's hand, so they are down 3 cards. So that's another package that you can add to your virtual world deck. So like I said, you're going to want to test out a lot of these different types of virtual world decks to see which one is the one that you like the most. Then we have the Muddy Muddragon package. So if you want to go the Muddy Muddragon package, is very strong, especially against like combo decks. You have the option to go into stuff like Kaliga, which cripples combo decks because they only have the option to attempt to activate 1 monster effect per turn. So if you also want me to make a guide on the Muddy Muddragon package, then I'll more than likely want to do that, so just put it in the comments below, like, hey, I want to know a guide on how to use Muddy Mud Dragon or something like that, and I'll go ahead and do that. But basically you make it with the Zulkin. So with Zulkin and this, you have the option to go into either Kaliga or Dragoon. So it's not that hard. So, and then you may be like, why would I go for something like Dragoon? Well, Dragoon is better against decks like Sky Striker, right? That Dragoon is just so good against. So with Muddy Mud Dragon, you have the option to either go for Kaliga or Dragoon, or you can just just leave one in your extra deck, whichever one that you prefer. So that's another tech card that you can use. So whatever you prefer, this is some of the tech cards. And then now we are gonna go into some of the cards that counter this deck. So you're gonna want to memorize the cards that we're about to go into. So let's go. All right, so this is gonna be the counter section. So this is gonna be all the cards that you can use to counter Virtual World. This is gonna be useful if you play this deck, and also if you're going up against this deck. So whichever camp that you are in, this section is gonna be useful to you. If you play this deck, you're gonna want to keep in mind these cards and see how you can counter them yourself. But yeah, this is gonna be the counter section. So I have here some of the main deck cards that are good against Virtual World, and over here I have some cards that are not really good against Virtual World, and then I have some extra deck cards that are really good against Virtual World. So yeah, let's go. So first card over here, this is kind of like an FTK against Virtual World. It's called Mischief of the Gnomes, and what this card does is that it reduces the levels of the monsters in the player's hands, and it's a lingering effect, right? So it's not like a continuous trap card, and also it reduces them even after they are summoned. So Virtual World relies a lot on either Synchro 6, Synchro 9, rank 6, rank 9s, or rank 3s. So they cannot make any of those plays if their levels are modulated. So this is very good. And it has two effects, so it's not just a one card effect, but it also has the same effect in the graveyard. So this card is absolutely insane against Virtual World. So you got to be careful for this card. Another card is Dimensional Shifter. You may be like, well, Yara, don't you want your cards to get banished? Well, not really. You want the cards that you want to get banished, but this makes it so all the cards get banished. So this is usually a turn skipper against Virtual World. So if you play Dimensional Shifter, you're gonna want to run it against Virtual World. If you play this card, you're gonna want to run it against Virtual World. So then we have Lancia. This card is very good, and it may start seeing more play now that the Flundereese is gonna come out. So you gotta be careful for Lancia. So Lancia makes it so you cannot like pay costs for like Qinglong or Chuchi, or you cannot activate any of those cards. So this card is basically good whenever they go first, but whenever they go second, they still have a couple of things that they can do. They can go into zoos, stuff like that. So but it's still good nonetheless, honestly. Like it's very strong. Like I hate whenever this card gets dropped on me and I'm playing Virtual World, so you're gonna want to keep this on your side deck against them. Imperial Iron Wall, the same concept. So if you play like a trap deck, you can have this. I remember Zaki from my locals, he played this against me when he was playing Altergeist, and I just had to skip turn. Then we have the Drolan Lockdown, or the deck lockdown. So this prevents it. This because you usually get two searches with Virtual World. You get the Lulu search and you get the Qinglong search. So this you won't be able to get neither of them with this. And Drone Lockbird makes it so you won't be able to draw off your Stardust Charge Warrior or your Coral, or you won't be able to search. So it's very good if you drop it at the right time. So basically you can drop it whenever. So a lot of them are getting rid of the Gamma package, so you're free to drop Droll at the first chance possible. So these cards are very good against Virtual World. And Gamma is good against Virtual World as well if you hit the right thing. So usually I would hit the Lulu. If you hit the Lulu, it usually ends their turn because that's their best card in the deck. So same thing with Ash. You're gonna want to hit the Lulu if you get a chance. If you feel like they bricked, you may want to hit the Qinglong in the graveyard, so they won't be able to get a search. But that's up to you. Bell is good against Virtual World, because and another thing to note is that both of these cards work against pretty much all their monster effects that activate in the hand. So Lily, Gigi, Roshi, and Lulu. So you can Gamma, Ash, all 4 of those. So because they all send to the graveyard beforehand. So you gotta keep that in mind. And then Bell is good against stuff like Neon. Neon won't be able to summon itself from graveyard, or you can activate this in response to Roshi, Lao, because it special summons from grave, so it will just stay in hand. You can activate against Gigi as well, because Gigi adds a card from the graveyard to your hand during the end phase, so Gigi will just stay in hand if you Bell the Gigi. So little thing to remember. Raigeki is actually one of my own spices against Virtual World, because they don't really put out any negations, right? And they don't expect like a Raigeki or a Dark Hole to be hitting them. You can just wipe their entire board, you know. Then we have the Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is good. If they put their monsters in attack mode, then you can punish them. You can punish them for that. But you can also just wipe the back row, and this goes along with any back row removal like Cyclone, Twisters. They're very good against the deck, because especially Cyclone and Twisters, because you can just hold them until like they want to activate Chuchi, and you can respond with your own spell and trap card removal. But Lightning Storm is just good because you can just wipe the whole back row. You don't even have to wait for anything, right? So Chuchi is a scary card, and you're gonna want to keep that in mind. So then we're gonna go with some extra deck cards that are very good against Virtual World. Seals is good because it bounces the normal summon, and you kind of need a monster, especially turn 1, the first turn. So if they bounce the normal summon, they kind of have a hard time. And the bad thing about Dragon Link is that they also have tiding, so it's usually like a double bounce, so it can get pretty hard, honestly, to play through a double bounce if you're playing Virtual World. You just bounce both of the first things they target. And then Dragoon you can out it with Virtual World, but you have to like basically all your plays have to go through, and you have to draw the correct you have to have the correct kind of cards in your opening hand to be able to play through a Dragoon. So you never have a good time playing through a Dragoon as Virtual World, you know. It's not like an easy time. And then these are the cards that are not really good against Virtual World. They're like they're mediocre. So Nibiru, because you can't put up Crystal Wing with Virtual World before 5 summons, so a lot of them, especially the calculated ones, they go into Crystal Wing before 5 summons, so they don't risk getting Nibiru'd. Imperm Veiler, well, the only good target you have against them is Zolkin, but a lot of the times you won't be able to target the Zolkin if they can either pop it with Chuchi, or they can go ahead and since they have a control another synchro, you won't be able to target the Zolkin, because that's Zolkin's effect. So if you have Imperm, the best thing I would do is probably just hold it for the Shen for the following turn, so your stuff won't get banished, but that's all up to you. Or the Kaliga. Then we have There Can Only Be One. There Can Only Be One is a card that Virtual World actually runs themselves. Since they run like their extra deck, they have a lot of different types, so not really a good card against them. Same thing with Skill Drain. They can just pop it with Chuchi, or a lot of the times they just want to leave it. I've seen some lists that run Skill Drain, so yeah, it doesn't really hurt it that much, honestly. So then Rivalry of the Warlords, just depends where they hit it. It's very situational, and they can always just pop it with Chuchi, so it's not really good. It's mediocre at best. Goes in, same thing with Rivalry, you know, it just depends whether you hit them, because they usually control half of their Virtual Worlds are Worm, half are Psychic, half are Earth, half are Wind, so it just depends where you hit them, but they can still combo off, is my main point. And then Phantasma is terrible against this deck, because you don't really link summon, so you never want to side this in against Virtual World. So that is it for the counter section, and now we are gonna go into the combo section. All right, so it's gonna be the combo / deck profile section of the video, and I'm gonna show you guys what your standard Lulu plus Kowloon starter end board will look like. So this is if you have Lulu and Kowloon on your starting hand, what you can end up with. And at the end of the combo, I'm gonna show you guys what I think will be the best deck profile for the upcoming ban list, post October ban list. And yeah, let's go. So it's gonna be the combo section. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with Kowloon. Gonna go ahead and activate the effect of Kowloon. So it's gonna be like the best starter that you can possibly have on the deck is Lulu Kowloon. It is so good, trust me, it is so good. So now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna activate Chuchi. So we're gonna go ahead and activate the effect of Lulu in hand, targeting our Chuchi. So we're gonna be able to send a spell or a monster. So we're gonna send a spell, and we're gonna go ahead and add a copy of Gigi to our hand. And then this gets special summoned. Then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and activate the effect of Gigi, targeting our Lulu. So we're gonna go ahead and send a copy of Chuchi to the graveyard. So then this gets special summoned. We're gonna put it in defense position. So we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and synchro those for a 6, and we're gonna go ahead and synchro for Stardust Charge Warrior. We're gonna go ahead and activate the effect to draw one. I'm gonna draw a random one. That's good. I didn't want it to be any virtual monsters. This is good. I don't want it to be a specific card because I'm showing you guys a combo. So then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and activate Qinglong from the graveyard. Activate the effect. We can add any virtual world monster from the deck to our hand. So we're gonna go ahead and add a copy of Lao Lao, Roshi, and we have to discard one. So we're gonna go ahead and discard the same copy of Droplet that we drew, because that's the cost of this. So now we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and activate Roshi in hand, targeting our trap card, so we can either send a spell or a monster from the deck to the graveyard and then special summon it. So we're gonna go ahead and send a copy of Neon. So we're gonna go ahead and special summon this in defense position. Then we're gonna go ahead and special summon out GG from our graveyard with Roshi's effect, and then Neon's effect will trigger. We're gonna be able to special summon it out, but it's gonna be a tuner now. So keep that in mind because it's gonna be necessary. Okay, so then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and send both of those to make Zolkin, right? Because it's a tuner and a non-tuner. And then we're gonna go ahead and set one of our spells or trap cards, and then Zolkin's effect will activate. We're gonna be able to special summon out Crystal Wing. We're gonna put it in defense position because we're playing around Lightning Storm. So we have Crystal Wing. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and activate the effect of Chuchi Engrave to banish it, to raise the level of our Neon to level 6, so that we have a level 6 non-tuner and a level 3 tuner. So we're gonna go ahead and synchro those into our almighty Shen Shen. That's right. And then Neon's effect is gonna activate whenever it gets banished. We get to shuffle one of our banished cards into the deck. So we're gonna go ahead and shuffle back our Chuchi. We're gonna go ahead and shuffle that. So now we're gonna go into the end phase, and then we're gonna be able to add back our copy of Lulu because of Gigi's effect. So this is gonna be our end board. So we have Crystal Wing for a monster negate slash destruction. We're gonna have Shen Shen, which is like a macrocosmos. Any card that leaves the field is gonna get banished instead. And we have Chuchi Live because we have two different virtual world cards in our banished pile face up. So a pop, macrocosmos, and a monster negate, and we have follow up with Lulu in our hand. And that's with the Kowloon and Lulu start. So that is very good. So now I'm gonna show you guys the deck profile that I used for this combo and what I think is gonna be a very good deck profile going forward post October 2021 ban list. But yeah, let's go. So this is gonna be it right here. This is gonna be the deck profile. So we're running triple Kowloon. We're maxing out on that. We're running triple Qinglong because we are playing Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is still seeing play in the top decks nowadays. It's being played on Tri Brigade. It's being played on Prank Kits, and we are also gonna be playing it on Virtual World because we're making it so we can run Pot of Desires, right? That's why we're running it. So then we're gonna be drawing a lot with this version of the deck. So we need. We can't be locked out of a drawing with Pot of Prosperity, right? So then we're running double Chuchi and the one Xuan Hu. A double Chuchi, you almost never banish both of them, but in case you do banish both of them, you can always shuffle it back with your Neon. Double Neon, so good. Triple Lily, self-explanatory. Triple Lulu, best card in the deck. Triple Roshi, it's very good. Since we're running Desires, we're not gonna go to 2, and Roshi is very good. So then we're gonna go to Triple Gigi. This card is so good because it's a +1 at the end of the turn. It gives you 1 to your hand. Double Emergency Teleport. This card is so good. 1 Called by the Graves. There's a reason it's still a 1. Potter Upstart Goblin. You know, just an extra consistency card. Pot of Desires, a +1. Kaiju's, because we want to play against cards like Herald of Ultimateness and all Dragoon and all those cards. And Tri Brigade may go back to the statue build, so you are going to want to get this Kaiju, the Wind Kaiju. So you got to be ready for it. Then we got to be running Droplet. Droplet is one of the best cards, not just of this past ban list, but also any future ban list, because they can't even respond when you activate it. So yeah, Forbidden Droplet, I know it's expensive, but it's a must going forward, trust me. So then we're gonna be running Triple Tactic Talent, because we people are still gonna be running hand traps against us. We're not running hand traps in the main deck, if you haven't noticed, because we don't want to lose to Talent, we don't want to lose to Cross Out, Call By, so many cards, Gamma. So we are never gonna be losing against hand traps, but they are gonna be losing. So Triple Talent is still good going second too. Especially against cards like Dragoon, right? You can bait out the negate and then take it and then just kill them with it. And the order, because for some reason this card is still legal, so it's very good. Even going second is pretty good. It's good. So cross out Designator for the side deck, and we're running a bunch of hand traps: Ash, Lancia, Bell, Imperm, and the Effect Veiler, and triple Twin Twisters against Prank Kids, against Invoke Domatica Shadol. Very good. Then we are running the Pankratops, because you know how much I love Pankratops. It is so good. 1 copy of Nibiru, also for Crossout Designator. 1 copy of Gamma for Crossout Designator. Sure, I'm not running the Gamma package because it's very bricky. It is very bricky, honestly. Especially on the main deck, it's so bricky. And you can't even use it after you activate one of your Virtual World Monster specs. So, and the good thing about a little cool trick is that if you have Stardust Charge Warrior and then you special summon Gamma with E-Telly, then you can hard make Crystal Wing Dragon. You don't even need to go into Zolkin. So it's a little trick that you can do. Gamma plus Stardust Charge Warrior equals Crystal Wing. Then Raigeki, good against the Mirror, against also against the Tri Brigade board is very good. So Raigeki, it is a good card. And then we're running Jiju, Shen, Fan, the Vermilion Dragon. M7 can recur back your resources. Zeus, Downer. I'm going with Downer because we're running more rank 3s, and then we can always make Fan into a rank 3. So with Chuchi, so you make it into a rank 3, then you slap on a Downer, a Zeus, so now you have double wipe. Downer, Break Sword, Gossip Shadow to play around cards like Nibiru in case you can't go into Crystal Wing pre-5 summons. Zolking, Crystal Wing, Stardust Charge Warrior, Coral Dragon, and then we have the Kaliga and the Muddy Mud Dragon package. You can substitute you can either substitute the Downer for a Dragoon, so that way you have double targets with Muddy Mud Dragon. So you can take out the Downer and put a Dragoon, so now you have either Kaliga or Dragoon, depending what you need to go with Muddy Mud Dragon. But that will conclude this guide. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took me quite a bit to make it, and I hope you guys appreciate it. Please hit that like button. It means the world to me, helps this channel out a lot. But as always, this was Yara here, and I will catch you on the next video. Stay strong, my friends. Take care.